Now I think you can see a slide on the stage, I mean in the screen. Am I right? Can you see a slide? Okay. We are going to next lesson. Next lesson, the second lesson, the lost spring. See, when you say the lost spring, the spring is one of the season of the year we know. How many seasons are there in a year? Can anybody tell me? There are how many seasons? Lost spring. There are 4 seasons in a year. You know that. Spring season is there. Summer season is there. Then winter season is there. Just before winter, we have got the autumn season. So if you just take the order, the spring season comes first. Then after the spring season, what comes? The summer season. After the summer season, we have autumn season. After autumn season, we have got a winter season. So it is a lost spring. Spring season is always compared to the childhood, the youth, the younger days. Here it is said lost spring. Lost spring means what? Nashtapatta cheruppam. That means the people who have lost their childhood. Stories of stolen childhood. Lost means we are losing something. We are carrying 100 rupees in our pocket. We go to the market. We find that on the way we have lost. We are responsible for that losing of that money. Because we were not careful to take care of that. But what happens when you say that is stolen? Stolen means somebody else has taken. Nammalil ninna kattedutu. So the childhood has been taken away from us. This particular lesson is written by Anis Jung. Now, Anis Jung is an Indian writer. She was born in 1944 in a place called Rourkela, Odisha. Rourkela is in Odisha. Then she shifted her accommodation to Hyderabad, Telangana. At present it is Telangana. She lived for 76 years. Both her parents were writers. She is coming from a very aristocratic family because her father was a ruler, or let's say was associated with the Nawab of Hyderabad. She's her career, if you take, she was a journalist. She turned to be an editor, a writer, and a columnist who used to supply to the newspapers in India and abroad. Now her works, important works, Unveiling India, written in 1987. Unveiling India. It is about Muslim women who are using parda. Night of the New Moon, another book that she has published. Encounters with the Muslim woman in India. This is another uh, book written by her. Seven Sisters, that is another book. Breaking the Silence, published in 1997. Beyond the Courtyard, published in 2003. These are the main works written by Anis Jung. The narrator is actually coming out of her apartment from her house. When she was walking, she just encounters a boy whose name is Sahib. Sahib is now among the garbages. Garbages, we know that in cities when we go, we find that people are dumping all the garbages there. So he is just searching among the garbages. And she asked him, what are you searching? What are you doing? Then he gives the answer. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. In the lesson, if you open the textbook, you can find that the lesson starts with this particular sentence. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Why is searching? Because sometimes he is finding a rupee in the garbage. Who is he? Those people who are just searching garbages for their living. They are known as, അവരെ എന്താണ് പറയുക? What do you call them in India? What do you call them in India? In English, we call them rag pickers. Those people who are collecting old things. They are known as rag pickers. He is a rag picker who lives in Simapuri at the border of Delhi. So who is Sahib? Sahib is a rag picker. Rag picker means പഴയ സാധനങ്ങൾ പെറുക്കി വിൽക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാരാണ് rag picker, who lives in Simapuri at the border of Delhi. He is living in the border of Delhi. Simapuri. That is a place name. It is not inside Delhi but outskirts of Delhi. When you come to the lesson speaks that Sahib is actually does not belong to India. His work in India is rag picking. Is scourging. Scourging means hunting or searching. If we go to the lesson, we will find that the word scourging has been used. The scourging means hunting or searching. He is searching for gold. Gold means money. We have said in the previous slide that he is searching for money in the garbage. He has come from Dhaka. Dhaka is in Bangladesh. He came from Bangladesh actually. Why he has left his home and he has come to India? Because there were many storms which swept away their home and field. Because of the natural calamities and because of the starvation, he was not able to continue to study there, and therefore he has come to India. After coming to India, what happened? He has no home. He has no place to stay. So all these people who are the refugees who have come from Bangladesh, they stay together in a place called Simapuri, the outskirts of Delhi. The lesson says that that is why they left looking for gold in the big city where he now lives. Big city refers to Delhi. Why they have come to Simapuri? Why they have come to the outskirts of Delhi? Because they are looking for gold. Gold here refers to money. In the lesson, the gold means they are looking for money. When he was asked that, Anis Jung is asking to this boy, why do you do this? What is he doing? He is scourging the garbage dumps. He is searching in the garbage. So Anis Jung, being a social worker, she feels sympathy for this boy. He asks that, why are you searching here? He gives the answer. He says that, I have nothing else to do. Looking away, go to school, I said glibly, realizing immediately how hollow the advice must be. We have mentioned that Sahib's house originally belongs to Bangladesh. His parents have come from Bangladesh. Now here he is searching for gold in the garbage dumps. He has never gone to school. Why? Because he is very poor. Here when he was searching in the garbage dumps, Anis Jung told him that why don't you go to school? If you have nothing else to do, go to school, she advises. But she did not realize that the advice that she was given to this boy is actually hollow. It is empty because it is not practical for him to go to school. So he has never gone to school because there is no school in his locality. So when she says that, why don't you go to school? The boy says, if I start a school, will you come? Anis Jung is telling that, when I start a school, will you come to my school? Suddenly what happened? Yes, he says, smiling broadly. He was very happy. And he said that definitely I'll come to your school when you start a school. After a few days when Anis Jung was walking in the same area, he met this Sahib. She met this Sahib. Sahib just came running to Anis Jung and asked Anis Jung whether your school is ready. Anis Jung simply just made a promise that she is going to start a school. The boy took it for reality. And that is why the boy ran up to Anis Jung and tells that or asks the question that whether your school is ready because he is ready to join the school. Earlier he told that there is no school, that is why I am not able to join the school. And immediately Anis Jung realized that she made a false promise. She felt embarrassed because she knows that the school cannot be started like that. She replied to that boy, it takes a longer time to start a school. You cannot start a school within 1 or 2 days. There are a lot of formalities, a lot of money is required, land is required, labor is required, permission is required. Everything has to be arranged. So it takes a longer time to start or build a school. And at the same time, Anis Jung was feeling very much embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant. Why Anis Jung felt quite embarrassed? Because she wanted to mention that people in this world make a lot of promises. Normally we make promises to the poor people. We make promises to the people who do not have equal power as ourselves. We can find everywhere. Politicians come in front of us. They make promises. The rulers make promises. So all these promises are not kept. Why these promises are not kept? Because they don't mean to keep the promise. And that is why Anis Jung expresses, she felt embarrassed having made a promise to Sahib telling that when I start a school, will you join my school? She felt embarrassed. She felt very uneasy because she felt that she made a promise that was not meant. What do you mean by making a promise that was not meant? Because when she said that, when I start a school, will you come to my school? She never intended to start a school. Simply she made a promise thinking that after this promise she will go away. She wanted to make a point here very clear that this kind of promises that she has made abound in every corner of this bleak world. In this world, people used to make a lot of promises. As I've said, people who are in power, they make promises to the subordinates. Politicians make promises. Parents make promises to the children. Elderly people make promises to the younger people. And these younger people or these people in low power, they never go and question the authority. And because of that, we find that this kind of dull promises are made everywhere. This is a generalized statement which is made by Anis Jung. Now Anis Jung every day goes out and she sees a group of barefoot boys who are walking in the streets of the neighborhood. Now after having just met this Sahib, this boy's name was not disclosed at that time, Sahib, she started asking him what was his name. He introduced himself that his name is Sahib-e-Alam. Sahib-e-Alam means the Lord of the universe. But when he was asked what was the meaning of his word, he does not understand because he is no more the Lord of the universe. Because the Lord of the universe is spending all his life in searching the garbages in the neighborhood. So he can be called Lord of the garbages, not the Lord of the universe. The boy, without knowing the meaning of his words, when people ask us what is the meaning of our name, some of us may be knowing. But Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the universe, how is his life? He doesn't have sufficient to eat. He has no good cloth, no chapel to wear. Starving, he is just holding a plastic bag on his shoulder and start his journey in the morning. He continues picking old materials so that he will be able to have a square meal a day. So this is the life of this Sahib-e-Alam. So without knowing the meaning of his name, the meaning of the name Sahib-e-Alam, it is already mentioned that the Lord of the universe. Without knowing, he just roams in the streets. He is not only the one. There is a group of barefoot boys who are walking with him. As the time went on, Anis Jung is able to identify each and everybody. We also normally go out of our house. When we go to the town, when we find the rag pickers, we seldom pay attention to them. Anis Jung, I told that she felt a sympathy for these people. First, her encounter with the Sahib, and after that, the group of boys who just accompanied him. After months, she was able to identify each and every boy in that group. They appear like birds in the morning and disappear at noon. The lesson says that these boys are appearing like birds in the morning. There is a comparison. How does the birds appear in the morning? And they just simply disappear after their work or after collecting something or at noon. She asked this group of boys, why aren't you wearing chapels? Many boys are there in the group, it is already mentioned. One of the boy, Anis Jung, asked that, why don't you wear the chapel? But that boy has just mentioned that my mother did not bring them down from the shelf, he answers. When he was asked, why are you just walking barefoot without wearing the chapel? He told that my mother does not give me the chapel which is kept in the shelf. Actually, this answer is not a genuine answer. Why? The boy does not have chapel. But he does not want to disclose his identity. He does not want to disclose his poverty, his poor condition. And that is why what he does is that he tells that my mother does not bring the chapel. I have a chapel. It is kept in the shelf. But my mother does not give me. We also do many a time. We don't want to disclose our own problems to other people. There are some other people who live on the sympathy of others. If there is a little thing, little problem, they will just publicize and just leave on that particular aspect. Or they live on that, sympathy of others. But here this particular boy says that even though he is poor, he has not lost his dignity. He says that I have chapel. He doesn't have the chapel in reality. But he just hides that reality because his pride as a human being does not permit him to just become demoralized, or rather does not like to disclose his poverty. Therefore he says that my mother does not bring the chapel which is kept in the shell. One of the boy who listens to Anis Jung and the answer of this boy, he just says, even if she did, he will throw them off. Because why that boy is just making this kind of remark? Because that boy was wearing a shoe which was not matching. Why it is not matching? Because it was given by somebody threw away and he picked and he started using. The boy feels proud that he is not having chapel, I do have a shoe. And that is why he is telling that even if his mother gives him a chapel, he will not wear, he will throw away. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says nothing. When Anis Jung told that, okay, you are making this comment, but when the shoe that you are wearing is actually not of your size, the boy feels a little uneasy and he just withdraws himself. Another boy says, a third boy says, I want shoes. A third boy, his prayer is that, I want shoes. Have any one of us ever prayed for shoes? This is a question that we have to ask us. We are so fortunate enough that everything is available. Our parents provide us, government provide us, the Vidyalaya provide us. But how many of us wear our shoes? One boy's prayer in his life is that. The third boy says that I want shoes. Traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot in cities on village roads. It is not lack of money, but a tradition to stay barefoot is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. So now here it is mentioned, the Anis Jung is just walking along the streets. She finds that in the cities and villages, there are many boys and girls are there who are just walking barefoot. She is speaking about these rag pickers. When they are asked why they are not wearing the shoes, they give an explanation. What is explanation? They say that it is a style, it is a tradition, it is a practice. We never wear shoes. Our people don't wear shoes. It is a tradition. It is something which is practiced from longer time, olden time to the present time. So this kind of traditional practices we are continuing. But Anis Jung does not believe, or rather does not accept this explanation which is given by these boys. And that is why she says that I feel that this is an excuse. This explanation which is given by the rag pickers, it is an excuse to explain away the perpetual state of poverty. Perpetual means permanent. Poverty, daridriyamana. Because they are permanently living in poverty and they don't want to disclose their poverty. Earlier, the boy who said that my mother does not bring out my shoe from the shelf. It is not that he is having the shoe in the shelf. He was trying to hide it, that he does not have the shoes. Likewise, here other boys who are just walking barefoot, they say that it is a tradition for us to walk barefoot. It is not because of the barefoot. According to Anis Jung, she says that they are trying to cover their poverty. They are trying to cover permanently in the perpetual state of their poverty, perpetual permanent shape of their poverty. Permanently they are in poverty and they don't want to disclose. Now the author goes on to explain to us an incident in this lesson. And the incident is that a boy who prays for a pair of shoes. He says, I remember a story of a man from Udupi once told me. She's just narrating a story of a man from Udupi. Udupi, we know that it is in our neighboring state in Karnataka. As a young boy, he would go to school past an old temple. So that man told that when he was an old boy, when he was a student, he was going to school, just crossing a temple. There is a temple is there. On the other side of the temple, there was a school. So in that temple, his father was a priest. So the temple which he crosses and goes to his school, that temple, the priest of that temple was his father. So when he was going to the school, he normally used to stop there briefly and he used to make a prayer. Just like before going to appear for the examination, we go to the temple and then pray to God that make my examination very comfortable, make my examination very easy. So here what happened? This boy used to go to this temple and he used to make a prayer. What was the prayer? You know what he was making? He always used to make a prayer. That prayer was that, give me a pair of shoes. He wanted to have a pair of shoes. His father was a priest in the temple. His income was limited. He does not get much money. The boy, his son, who is going to the school, he was not having a shoe. So the prayer that he used to make is, please give me a pair of shoes. He sees his friends are wearing the shoes. He was not able to wear. His parents could not afford. After 30 years, Anis Jung says that I visited his town and temple which was now drowned in an air of dissolution. After 30 years, once again that temple and town was visited. So at that time what happened? That place was completely barren. In the backyard of the temple, the new priest was there. The father who was the priest is not the priest now. A new priest is there. Definitely the new priest may be the son who just made that prayer that give me a pair of shoes. A young boy dressed in grey uniform wearing socks and shoes arrived panting and threw his bag on the folding bed. Looking at the boy, I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he finally got the pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. The goddess had granted his prayer. Young boys like the rag pickers in the neighborhood remained shoeless. So here the story says that father was a priest, the son not having shoe, he makes a prayer when he was going to the temple. So after 30 years what happened? This boy who just prayed for the shoe, he became the priest of that temple. Then his son who is going to the school, he is fortunate enough to have a shoe because the prayer that the father made actually granted to the son. So whatever prayer the father made for him, even though he did not get, his son got that prayer, or he got the pair of shoes. Now Anis Jung says that when we look at the rag pickers here in this particular place in Simapuri, we can find that many boys, they just go shoeless. The boy who made the prayer, even though he did not get shoes, here what we find? His son got the shoe, and they are little more fortunate and they are prosperous than the previous priest, because it is said that outside the house when he arrived there, he is having school bag. He threw that school bag on the folding bed. Looking at the boy, he just remembers that the other boy who had made that prayer. So what the father made, what the prayer that the father made, definitely given to the son. So here what Anis Jung is trying to tell us is that when the father was a priest, the son made the prayer. Son did not get what he prayed, but his prayer was granted to his son. So now the new priest who made the prayer earlier is little more prosperous because he had made that prayer. He has got chairs kept outside his house, folding bed is there, his son is having shoes, he is having bag, he is returning home. So just looking at this particular incident, which is just told to Anis Jung by a man from Udupi. The story is narrated by a man from Udupi to Anis Jung. She says that even today, many boys like the rag pickers in her neighborhood remain shoeless. One minute remain.